Hello and welcome to some book recommendations by Warhammer 40k bookreviews.com. Today I'd like to talk about some books that focus on the Primarchs, the masters of the Space Marine legions and the sons of the Emperor. The Primarchs are some of the most cool and spectacular entities in the Warhammer 40k universe, I think. And when they are written well, they are some of the most interesting characters to read about, because they all are so varied and different, all have their own personalities, and all are, of course, extremely powerful and play such a pivotal part in the whole story about the Imperium and the Horus Heresy. So the first book that I want to recommend is Horus Rising, which is the very first book in the Horus Heresy series of novels, so it's a good place to start. And Horus Rising focuses on the Primarch Horus, who is the War Master of the Imperium. And in Horus Rising, we follow him as he is still on the side of the Imperium before he turns on his own father. And we get to see him while he is carrying out the Grand Crusade, subjugating planets in the name of the Imperial Truth, and being an all-around badass with his legion, the Lunar Wolves. And it's a great book because it tells a story that is showing us how the Imperium was before the Horus Heresy really started, before all the terrible nastiness began. And it shows us Horus from the very beginning, and shows us some of the things that affected him before he was evil, but where you can kind of see, okay, this is where it starts. And it's a really great written book, and it's a book that tells a very important piece of Warhammer 40k lore. So I definitely think that's a very good read. The second book I would like to recommend is A Thousand Suns, which focuses on the Space Marine Legion A Thousand Suns, of course, and the Primarch Magnus, who is an incredible, powerful psyker. He has been granted some of the Emperor's psychic potential, which makes him an incredible, powerful sorcerer, able to, pretty much defeat any foe with just a flick of his psychic wrist, or predict the future, or see into the future at least. And of course, all of his legion, the Thousand Suns Legion, is very strong in being able to use psyker abilities. The book is very interesting because this, of course, if you know a bit of the Warhammer 40k lore, you know that the Thousand Suns are one of the legions that ended up falling to chaos. But the story is quite interesting because it's not actually a story of them being corrupted and turning to chaos out of spite against the Emperor or something like that. It's actually more of a tragic tale about Magnus, who tries to be a good son, but just circumstances end up forcing him into some very bad actions, and also the Emperor himself is forced into action against his disobedient son. And again, it's really well written, and maybe it's not such an important piece of 40k lore, because certainly if you're coming into Warhammer 40k, you can just know that, okay, the Thousand Suns are powerful, psychic, evil Space Marine Legion, and that's enough. But it's a really interesting tale. It's really interesting to get to know that backstory. So definitely an excellent read, I think. The last book that I would like to recommend is The First Heretic. And The First Heretic is a book about the Wordbearer Legion, and their Primarch is Lorgar. And the Wordbearers are actually the root of Horus Heresy, you can say, because Lorgar is the first Primarch to meet with the forces of chaos and be corrupted by them. And his legion is the one that eventually plants the seeds of chaos throughout the other Space Marine legions, the ones that will eventually rebel against the Imperium. And this is a great book because partly, of course, it's again very important in the Warhammer 40k lore. It tells a very important part of the history, and I really like it because the word bearers are portrayed as this legion that is a bit like the Thousand Sons. They're critically flawed, but not distinctly evil. But you can see that the flaw that is in the word bearers is such a huge deal that it's almost inevitable that they would fall from the grace of the emperor and start worshipping the chaos eventually. I think it's a great book to read. It's not quite as newcomer friendly perhaps as Horus Rising, but still certainly a good book and an okay book for newcomers to read, I think. So these are 3 picks that I think are all great books that focus on the Primarchs. I think you should definitely read all 3 of them, and I hope you get to try them all.